Alrighty, welcome everybody to She's of Love. Now today we have Amanda Kate on the podcast, which is super exciting. Last conversation was just so revolutionary is the word that comes to me. Um, but today the topic we're talking about is the law of attraction because I feel like I don't know, just it's such a important broad topic. And it's kind of used in the spiritual space as I don't know, I remember when I was first entering spirituality, like it was just such a broad term, and I was like, what is this? Like everyone just kind of blurted it out everywhere, and like, what does it really mean? And because it's not as pretty as I first thought it was at all. Like it's not it can actually be really like a pretty intense like learning curve a lot of the time. So I guess I'll hand the mic over to you, Amanda, and let you lead the conversation and wherever you want to take it, and then we'll just kind of follow along with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I completely agree. You hear the law of attraction and you're like, awesome, this is great. And then the reality of it sets in. I think also in a lot of law of attraction communities, there's actually a lot of shame in them. Well, you're not attracting the right stuff, so therefore your vibration is wrong. It's very blame filled and shame filled. And so I think this is where, as with so many spiritual conversations, we need to bring in so much more nuance because it's so seen as black and white. And well, there's a lot of moving parts to the law of attraction. And we also have to remember that the law of attraction is only one of 22 universal laws. So with everybody focusing on just the law of attraction, we're looking at 1 out of 22, which, as you can imagine, narrows our field of focus quite a lot. So yes, it's powerful. Yes, it can be used in a beautiful way, but there are also a lot of pitfalls with it because it's such a small part of how we truly manifest. I think also people go into the law of attraction and they're going, well, I'm visualizing the Mercedes in my driveway and it hasn't arrived yet. But hang on, what physical steps are you taking in this 3D world to bring that manifestation closer to you? We can't just go into wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is very different from the law of attraction. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot more nuance there, I think, than we speak about, than we share, because it doesn't work in a sound grab. And I think this is what I'm realizing more and more and more is that everybody's distilling these big, complicated, yet also quite simple concepts into sound bites. And we're missing all of the nuance that goes around it. And I
Yeah.
think that's where we really need to, I guess, start doing a bit of deeper dives into these topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think um one of the issues that I find is how there's a big like almost toxic positivity around law of attraction,
Mhm.
and how you can create anything that you ever want. And again with the shame, I've experienced that personally where like I would be sharing traumas in a spiritual circle, and what would be said was, well, what did you do to invite that
It's
into
in-
your reality? And it's like, maybe I was just not doing anything. Like, I understand that we manifest every part of our life. But that's also like, you know, it just, I shouldn't put the blame on myself. I think the question shouldn't be, why did I attract that? I think the question should be, okay, well, that happened. What can I learn from that? What can I take away from that? What was the lesson in that for me? That, wording the question that way creates a lot of sorry, one second. You guys continue talking.
I think it is that, people go, well, what have you done to welcome that in? Well, hang on a minute. What are some, again, the nuances around why that was welcomed in? What have I got to learn from this? What have I got to move forward with this And sometimes is it even my lesson to be learning, or am I helping somebody else learn a lesson?
Yeah.
And so this is where, again, that nuance, the light and shade, the dark and, all of these different textures need to be brought in to truly understand everything that goes around it. And there's a couple of other big points. Who the hell ever said life was going to be easy? We're here on a 3D realm interacting with everyone is a flawed human. And we are flawed humans. So we're interacting with flawed people who are supposed to be flawed because that is the human experience. We are equal parts human and equal parts divine. We are 100% divine, 100% human. And that paradox in itself can be mind-blowing for people. Well, how can I be 100% divine and 100% human? Well, because you are. And therefore we are we are interacting with everybody else who is also 100% divine and 100% human. And we are building that rich life through that. It's the same way that people go, I want to be happy. Well, how bland. You're then cutting out every other emotion because all you want to do is be happy. Who told you that happiness is, the be all and end all of life? And I think so often we get focused into, as you say, the toxic positivity, that love and light brigade of everything's supposed to be swimmingly working out for us. And it's like, well, is it? And who said this life is supposed to be a walk in the park?
Yeah, and that's such a controlling, like people who want to control, it's an impossible task to say, I'm going to be constantly happy and I want to, it's not possible. I think the expectation needs to be that, okay, I want to be in flow and balanced. I don't want to have the huge highs and the huge lows. Like that's something that I've experienced in my life, these huge highs and huge lows. And I've been going to myself, I'm not buying into that stuff anymore. I prefer to be in flow, but the expectation isn't that I'm going to be in flow forever and every single day, 24 hours a day. There's going to be ups and downs, but it's managing your expectations and realizing that you can't be in 100% control all the time, which it goes back to what you were saying, Juliet, is when something happens to you and then somebody says, how did you manifest that for yourself? Sometimes life is just the way it is. Like people influence each other, our interactions, the people we choose to be around, the jobs that we are in, those things have a part to play. They play an influential part in your life. And we can't control how those things turn out sometimes.
Yeah.
So to manage our expectations and also not to put that, what you were saying, Amanda, that shame part of it, that piece in the story of shame is so damaging to people. And puts so much pressure on us, and it creates this, people, the way people deal with shame is very different. Some people go into a depression. Some people cut themselves off from other people. Some people carry it around like baggage on their back, like they're just constantly carrying this huge shame with them. I know I've done that. I've carried shame in my life, and shame can come from childhood, also from things that happen in childhood, and we blame ourselves because, of course, when we're in our childlike state, we're thinking, how do I get love? How do I get fed? So you're kind of in a survival situation. And so the way you learn how to survive in your family and how you learn how to get love and how to get fed and all of those things get attention, when you grow up, those ways of living your life and those ways of being are no longer serving you because you were a child when they developed. And so being able to go back and say, that shame I don't need to carry that shame with me anymore. And when we start to clear those things out and we work on that shadow aspect of ourselves, that's when I think we can start thinking about manifesting and when manifesting actually really works, because the feeling can come in when we've got rid of all that shame and the stuff that's blocking us. That's when we can start feeling into what it is that we really want. And that comes as part of self-love, I think. A
Yeah.
lot of our conversations that we have on Sheets of Love all boil down in the end to loving yourself and knowing who you are as a person without all of that baggage that we carry with us from the past. And I just want to say too, Juliet's in Auckland. Did you say that, Juliet, at the beginning?
No, I haven't. And also, I wanted to say, I'm really sorry about before. I'm on a balcony right now, looking out at the water, and there was a lady who was like trapped in the pool area, and she
Oh
needed
no.
help getting out, and so she was calling at me for help. So that's why I had to stop mid-sentence before. So I apologize.
Yeah, rescuing people even on Sheets of Love lives.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're all good now, but I am in Auckland, New
Yeah,
Zealand at the moment. So,
just as a side note,
yeah,
because
just as a side note.
you're not here. This
Y-
place is blank.
Yeah. Um, but I think you added a lot to my point, Mum, where, yeah, I was also going to address the fact that, you know, I have, I think it's a really weird line with manifesting that, uh, you can actually, I've noticed that sometimes things do come out of the blue. And like I remember one personal example was I really wanted to manifest looking through a telescope at the sky. It's been like something I've wanted to do for ages. But I never wrote it down and actually like put it in stone that this is what I want to do. And so I did. And then 2 weeks later, a random guy on the street, I swear on my life, was had his telescope out because it was like this incredible alignment with Saturn and Jupiter and the sun and the moon. So you could see all like the moon, Saturn, and Jupiter all in the night sky, like if if you had a telescope. And that was 2 weeks later, and I just saw this guy on the street and got to look through the telescope. So um, it's because you said it before, Amanda, how you can't just wishful think and I agree with that because even in that situation where that random thing came up, the action was me writing it down. The action was me actually being like, okay, yes, like this is me like putting some structure in place to create it, even if it's as simple as just writing it down in my journal or on my bucket list. So um, I think it's really interesting with um, you know, the law of attraction. And because I meet so many people who I used to have a friend who was a professional wishful thinker. And, but so it was a really good juxtaposition because I had her to witness, but then I had other friends who like you would look at them and maybe without the spiritual eye, you would also think it was wishful thinking, but they actually manifested the things that they wanted. And so I had to look at what they were doing, like how are they doing this? How are they um, like what is the difference between her and what's the difference between my other friend who
Mm.
is like failing at everything that they want? And the difference is the way that you live your life. And you have to behave and act and get in the mindset of you having already having these things that you wanted. And you also, I think, um it's really important to be very you have to face your fears when it comes to the things that you want. I know for me personally, there's a lot of fear in the things that I want. Like I want to travel the world and I'm scared of being in other countries alone. And I want to, like a big thing is I want to hike a mountain here in New Zealand, but that also terrifies me completely. Um, and so the thing between me and hiking that mountain is fear. And the thing between me and traveling the world is also fear. And that happens with a lot of the things that I want. Like even one day I want to buy my own property and I don't know how the hell I'm going to do that. Like at the moment I don't have anywhere close to that amount in my bank account. So um and I think I'm going to be having to face a lot of fear between then and now and just getting over the ego of it. I think a lot of it is ego. with wishful thinkers, because they're like, I want it, it's going to happen. I'm just going to let it go and I'm not going to think about it again. And sometimes that has worked for me, very rarely, but it can. But I think a lot of the time it's avoidance in wishful thinking, because there's so much self-work to do between you and the things that you want. And the self-work is a lot of the time the things that actually manifest, not the just saying it out loud and just hoping that it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to, there's a couple of points that I just wanted to note down just for
Yeah.
our listeners is, we talk about ego as this thing that we need to kill, that we need to get over. I call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
Now, the reason is, why would we have it if it was unnecessary? Nature does not create unnecessary things. Humans create unnecessary things a lot. Nature doesn't. Now, we come into this 3D world and our ego is to help us navigate this world. Now, a lot of the big spiritual teachers and gurus who talk about dissolution of ego, killing off the ego, living beyond ego, all of that, were men. They were men born into a patriarchal world where they were, regardless of, all of the other factors, they were superior to whomever else was in that world. Now, what we have to remember is that having a healthy ego means that it is not fighting against us. It's like our inner children. It's like our inner teenagers. It's like those parts of ourselves that we've disconnected from. If we make friends with it, if we make it feel seen, heard, loved, understood, safe, then our ego doesn't arc up as much. Now, what we have to think about is, for people who are born into, well, I run this world and I'm going to have all these opportunities, isn't this amazing? They tend to have overdeveloped egos.
Yeah.
This is where that overconfidence bordering on arrogance and heading into arrogance comes from. Well, I'll get whatever I want in this world anyway. But if you look at most, again, this is not necessarily gender-based, but most women, most people who are born into other, whatever that other is, whether it be race, gender preference, any of that, most people born into other have an undeveloped sense of ego. So when I started on my spiritual journey, it was all about dissolving the ego and moving beyond ego and all of that. But I didn't even have one to move beyond. I had made so little of myself that I didn't exist. Now, how can I get beyond that to existence?
Very true.
What I needed to do was build a healthy sense of self, a healthy identity, a healthy sense of self-love, a healthy sense of acceptance that I've been brought in this way for a reason. Women in childbirth, you think they're thinking of themselves? They don't have a self. Women who are, or people who are cleaning up babies' poo and vomit and who have, literally these little parasites feeding on them, don't have a sense of self. And what we're telling them is to get less and less and less of themselves. Bullshit. They need to build a healthy ego, a healthy sense of self within this world to take up that space that they are in. Look at how women sit, cross-legged, hunched over. You see a lot of women on stage will have their hands across their solar plexus or their chest or their womb space, trying to protect themselves, make themselves smaller. You look at any woman with an eating disorder and they will literally fold themselves into the smallest shape possible. We need to get them in their body, embodied.
Yeah.
So they have a sense of self so that they can take up space. And when this side of the pendulum comes in, and when this side of the pendulum tempers itself, not dissolves, not gets rid of, not kills it off, but tempers that ego and comes into the healthy sense of self, that's what we're looking for. So it's really changing that idea of what ego is. Ego is a huge benefit to us navigating this world. You guys could not promote this podcast, these discussions, your group, your businesses, any of that stuff without a sense of self.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. The other thing is, yes, fear will stand in the way. Fear is going to be there. But when we start to talk to that fear and actually find out which of our inner children, which of our inner teenagers, which parts of ourself are creating that fear, once we understand the stories driving them, you know, the story for you about, you know, oh, I'm scared to be in another country on my own. Well, of course, because we're tribal creatures, we're built to be with each other. So what part of you feels abandoned or felt like it didn't exist or didn't feel connected? Once you've been able to talk to that, whether you call it inner child, ego, you know, belief system, story, give it whatever name you fancy, really. But once you've had a conversation with that part of you and gone, I hear why you think that, and I'm an adult and I've got all these beautiful adult skills that I can protect you with and keep you safe with. So yeah, this might feel really scary for you, but we can take these steps because I've got this. That's how our ego becomes a massive supporter of ours, because it'll say, hang on, I'm a bit scared right now. Those inner children will say, hang on, if I'm on my own, then I'm going to die. Because in our tribal nature, if we weren't accepted by the tribe, we'd be cast into the wilderness and we'd die. So there is a part of you in that traveling the world on your own that's going, I'm going to die. So when you can talk to that part of yourself, have a conversation with it, because you think all of these parts are kind of standing in front of us. And what they've forgotten to do is look behind and go, holy shit, she's all grown up. Imagine your 2-year-old, or imagine any 2-year-old looking at you. I mean, one, they'd probably think Claudia and I were close to death because we're so old, you know. But even you, they'd be like, shit, she's old, you know.
Yeah.
And imagine you're in a 2-year-old looking back and going, oh shit, I'm all grown up. She's old, you know, like she's got all this life experience. They're the ones that you kind of want to get on board and have those conversations with. And as we have a conversation with them, as we start to show them that love and, you know what, babe, I've got your back. I am going to make sure you're safe. Feel the resistance change.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, mum's got me. Okay, I am safe. And that's really how we, you know, to deal with our fears. And also, I think we don't need to have done all the work to allow these laws of the universe to work with us and for us. Because I think a lot of people think, well, when I get to this stage, or when I've cleared this stuff, or when I've that trauma, or when I've, but the universe doesn't work like that. Yes, we need to work on our vibration. Yes, we need to work on all that stuff. But I used to manifest stuff when I was in the most traumatized state. But because I'd go, this is really what I want. And it was aligned to my desires. Most of my goals didn't work out. Most of my intentions didn't work out. Most of my law of attraction manifestations didn't work out because I was living to everybody else's balance sheet, everybody else's ideals, everybody else's expectations. I wasn't living my life. Everything that I've put down that is aligned to my life manifests eventually in the right way at the ideal time. And so I think that's also what we need to look at. Whose shit am I trying to manifest here? You know, do I actually really, I mean, I remember picking myself up one day. I saw this guy hopping out of a BMW and I was like, arsehole, you know? And then I went, okay, so what, I mean, look, let's face it, we all judge. Same as everyone going, judgment.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Absolutely.
We're going to judge. We're human. And what the key is recognize the judgment. I was like, okay, so why do I think that? Well, because all BMW drivers are dickheads. Well, that's actually not true. I used to drive a BMW. You know, in the UK, I had one. Oh, hang on. Okay, so I've already got one example of it not. Why do I have that in my awareness? Okay, because they've got money. All right. If I had that same money, would I want to buy a BMW? Actually, no, I wouldn't. I want to get a camper trailer and a car that can tow it. So every time now I see somebody driving something like that, I'm like, that's my camper and trailer. I can't wait till that's in my life. You know,
Yeah.
I was driving down the Nepean on the way back from the beach with my partner, and he saw this guy in a sports car, you know, top down. He's probably, you know, 60, 65-ish. You know, he was one of those quite debonair looking, silver haired, had a bit of a gut, you know, dad looking people. And my partner went, oh, you know, I can't remember the exact term he used, but oh my God, midlife crisis type thing, or trying to reclaim his youth. And I said, hun, imagine this guy sitting next to you has just put 3 kids through school. They've finally left home. He's paid for their university, he's paid for their schooling. And this is the first time in his life, because he's been putting his wife and children or whatever it is, his family life first. Imagine if this is the first thing he's actually bought for himself.
Mm.
And my partner went, I never thought about it like that. And I said, well, what gives you more hope? What gives you more joy? Which way do you want to think about it?
Yes.
Because,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. That's it. It's aligning your vibration to something that is going to fulfill your cup rather than looking at it through the lens of this is crap and it's making me feel crap.
Yeah.
Is when you
You
can,
shouldn't have that because I can't have it. That's your
Yeah.
top right there, isn't it? You've
yeah,
got a truck and I want to play with the red truck.
yes, that's exactly it. And I think it is more effort in a way, more effort because the brain has to kind of jump something to get there. But I think with practice, if you were to do that over and over again with practice, eventually it would become easier and easier for that paradigm shift to become part of who you are.
Oh,
Because
it does. Look, I mean, for him to say that to me, and I did have a bit of a laugh because I'm like, I used to think that kind of thing too. But again, I used to hear my mum say it. I used to hear her go, oh, midlife crisis, you know. But
so
now it truly is that. Imagine if this guy has been, you know, supporting his family for years and paying for everything for everybody else, and he's finally got this money to buy something nice for himself. How amazing would that feel? Now, I didn't get from, you know, one extreme to the other without a shed ton of work in between
yes.
and a shed ton of consciousness. You know, like I say, now when I see Mercedes, I'm like, that's my caravan and camper. I can't wait.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
And
I
it's
love
that
that.
change that feels awesome.
Mhm.
Because it's like if I
Yeah.
had 150K, what would I do with it? I wouldn't buy a Mercedes. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
Yeah.
to me, I value something different.
yeah.
Now, going back to when I was married, I would have wanted the Mercedes because that would have put me into that place that I should be because of what everyone else has told me I should want.
Mm,
Now I'm like, nah, that
No.
doesn't float my boat.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
love that perception change.
Hmm.
Mm,
Huge.
yeah. I think something as small as that is so powerful because how do you know, like I don't want to be living my day in that energy of judgment and in that energy of negativity. Like, what do I want for myself? Like
Yeah, that's it.
a thought like that seems so simple, but it cascades out and ripples into so many more complex, deeper things. And just a simple act of hearing a judgment or hearing a thought and asking questions of like, okay, why did I just think that? Or why did I just have that attitude about that? And shifting your perspective so you are in a state of a loving, exciting, positive energy. And you know, I think that goes I don't know, I just think it's such a simple thing and to do it maybe even just once a day, once a week, or to create a little bit of a habit out of it. You could shift so much in such a little time because if you're catching your thoughts lead you to so much trauma and you don't have to go um I think there's a big misconception with trauma that you have to heal all of it and you have to go really into it and you have to like really deep dive and to heal it. And honestly, I think, okay, yes, there is always a place for that, especially with big things, 100%. But we collect traumas like all the time. I mean, someone, I could think of a million of just like things, a guy at work, a customer at work, saying something to me that was really, I would look back at it and it was actually really disrespectful and I makes me feel yucky. And then, but I don't have to go in an hour meditation of like, everything to heal that. I can if I want, but it's not necessary. I think things like that of catching little egos in every second, and yeah, seeing your judgment in that way is a really powerful way to transmute things without um taking so long to do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And
And I
what,
think also, if we look at the stories that because realistically, I mean, when you look at trauma is anything less than nourishing and nurturing that negatively alters ourself or our view of the world and the way we interact with it. So yes, those little traumas are there, but again, when you think of that comment in isolation, for example, well, is it the comment that's the problem, or is it all of the other comments that you've had from, men or whatever it is all through your life that makes that just, this pisses me off because we've been born into that patriarchal kind of society, and therefore it's this power differential of, I have power over you, so I'm going to say those kind of things to you. Well, hang on a minute. So that's when we look at what is the tipping point, or that crux point that we actually want to go to, because it's probably not that comment. It's probably way back here.
Yeah.
When we started swimming in the water and then forgot that we were wet. So we're like, well, this is what women are just supposed to put up with.
Yeah.
Well, actually, is it? And I think you've got a really good point there. When we look at judgment, if we can accept that we're all going to judge, and that actually it's a safety mechanism, it's one of our things that keeps us safe. Do we touch a hot stove? No. Why? Because we're going to judge that it's hot.
Yeah.
We need an element of judgment. Judgment itself is not a problem. It's the stories that we attach to the judgment, and that's where the unhooking happens. So I love what you were saying there. The one that popped in for me was, if you had that experience in the circle where somebody's gone, well, why did you welcome that into your life? It's a different thing if I went, why do you think you welcome that into your life?
Yeah.
The tone of voice, the intention, the love with which it's said, the way that you receive it. Because I could say it in the most loving way and you could think, fuck, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
And so again, there's all of these nuances that we can put around it, because the question she asked probably wasn't incorrect. It may have been the best way she knew how to ask it. It could be the intent. It could be the way we read it. It could be all of these different things. But it's all based on our past life experience. So as we go and we heal some of those major cruxes in our life, we learn to look through that, and we learn to see a little bit more color, dark, light, shade, to give us a little texture.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes with experience too. Like Juliet saying that, she's on this adventure and she wants to travel the world, and it's scary to her, because this is the first time really that she's doing it. So it's like you trust in yourself that, okay, yes, you're standing on the threshold of something, and it doesn't matter what age you are, doesn't matter, because new things come into our lives at any age. And so when you're standing on that precipice of something new in your life, the fear is going to come up to keep you safe, as you say. But as we get older and as we start to experience life more and more, we start to realize that actually we can keep taking steps, even though we are afraid. We can step into the fear.
Yeah.
We can say, I see you. I understand that you're there. I appreciate that you're trying to keep me safe, but I'm doing this anyway. And the more you do it, and like you're saying with the perception change, when you gave that question to your husband, changed his perception. He's like, oh, I never thought of it like that. It's a practice.
Yeah.
And as we do it more and more and more, we become more the practice of it becomes easier and it becomes
Yeah.
part of who we are. And that's why with Juliet, when she was like, Mum, I'm scared. I want to do this, but I'm scared. And I'm like, you go, girl. You just go and
Yeah.
do it and experience it and eat it up like it's like the biggest pie, you know, and you just want to eat every part of it. Because I know that I trust her. I know that she's got, you know, she's got the brain to figure things out. And I trust the people that she's with as well. I know that they're great girls and that they're all going to look after each other. And so I'm like pushing her, go, 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 do it, do it, do it. Because in the experience of doing it is gold,
Yeah.
you know, and I know that because I'm on the other side of it now and I want that for her.
Mm.
And
I
so, and
wanted,
like you asking your husband that question, you're on the other side of it and you've done it for yourself. And giving him that gift of asking that question to him is like reframing it.
Mm.
And that's, you know, to me, that's what life is all about, is gifting each other this knowledge, gifting each other
mm,
step up in our personalities and kind of like reframing things to go, oh yeah, like
Because we only know perspectives from what we've seen. Because
exactly.
that's all we've experienced. I like using the example in that of imagine 15, 20 years ago, telling somebody that the biggest hotel chain in the world would not own a single building, or the
Yeah,
biggest taxi company in the world would not own a single car.
yes.
And now we have Uber and Airbnb. Like, what?
How does that work?
Like 20 years, 15, 20 years ago, like that would have just been the most stupid idea ever. And yet here's these two people, because they tapped into something that they had this dream about, that they could see the vision of. Now, anyone else was like, you guys are insane.
Yeah, who's going to rent out a room in their house to a stranger?
Yeah, like it was the most bizarre thing. And so you know, even when you start to put it into that framing, you're like, oh my God, like I am limited by what I know.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
if I can get more parts of me involved and go, you know what, we're all going to step off this cliff together. And sometimes
yeah,
we're going to have to build our wings on the way down.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
But
it.
you know what? We're going to do it and we are going to land at the bottom somehow.
yeah. And to add to that, one thing I wanted to say is, you know, your perception is so limited when you haven't experienced it, when like, as you said, like when you haven't experienced something, you don't know what it's like, and therefore the ego and and fear and all those really difficult emotions rise up. And I know for me personally, when I experienced this, like waiting on that edge of the cliff before jumping off, my imagination goes wild, but in the negative way, and like creates really scary scenarios. But I think you know, that's going to happen. We're human. That's our nature. That's how our bodies and our
It's our
minds.
physiology. We're
There's
built to
no
do that.
that it takes many years of mastery to get to a point where you don't get to that stage, and even then, like, you probably still will.
Yeah, it's just
It takes, you
managing
know
it.
what, actually, it takes a ton of mastery to experience that, like that fear and that negative imagination, and go through it anyway. I
Yeah,
think no matter what, you're still going to experience that because we're all human and that's how we are designed. Um, but you know, when you are going down that cliff face, it's wilder than you could imagine. And a lot of the time it's amazing, and it's things that happen that you could never even in your wildest dreams have thought up. Like I was saying to Amanda, before you joined, Mum, and before we begun the live, like yesterday, well, actually, let me just start off. So I flew into New Zealand, and I don't have many plans. I have three hikes booked, and one of the girls that I'm traveling with, she might even be able to hear me now. I don't know. She's just over there. But I'd never even met her before. And this was going to be our first time meeting in New Zealand, in Auckland. And then, a month of travel together in a tent, sleeping like sardines. And I was so ready for that and I was excited, but there was a lot of fear. And I think on the plane, and I also had a lot of prep to do and I was working. And so I didn't really have a lot of space to feel fear, but I also didn't have a lot of space to feel excitement either. It was just like, okay, here we are. I'm on the plane. We're here. And it was just like it was a bit of a numb feeling because of just how the crazy roller coaster. And I landed in New Zealand and again, nothing planned other than 3 hikes booked. And I rock up, I didn't even know where I was going to sleep that night. And Kaya, my friend, she picks me up and we go and stay at her family friend's apartment, which is on the water, right in town, 5-minute walk. It's like one of the only beaches in Auckland that we can like swim in, and that's really nice water and everything. And there's a pool. And then yesterday we went for a walk along the beach, and we went in the water, and a jellyfish was giving birth in the water.
Mm.
And this is a lion's mane jellyfish, which I'm 90% sure is a deep sea jellyfish. And it was on the coast, which huge, bright purple, bright pink, like fluorescent. And I'm talking, I wouldn't be surprised if it was millions, if not millions, hundreds of thousands of these baby jellyfish, like tiny, tiny jellyfish, layers upon layers of them in the ocean, like just every thick, like you could just scoop them up. There was that many. You just like got a little handful and they would be like that for ages along the beach. And that was like my second day in New Zealand. I could never, ever imagine that. Like I would never be like, what would be really cool to see a jellyfish give birth. Like I would never think of that.
That wasn't on your law of attraction list.
But yeah, like you
That's
never know.
cool.
You have to jump off that cliff and things are just going to appear that you could never in your wildest dreams imagine. It's
So,
just amazing.
while
Yes.
you were chatting then, I had to look up the spiritual meaning of the jellyfish. And I need
Yes.
to let you know this because it's just, I love when things like this happen. I like to look at the medicine it's bringing or the metaphysical meaning of it.
Yeah.
So whenever the jellyfish appears on your path, it's time for a shift to happen. It's time for something unusual to unfold in your life. The reason you should pay attention to the jellyfish is that it's rare and unusual to find this creature. Finding the jellyfish is not something that happens every time, so seize the excellent opportunity. Being alert and hypersensitive to this animal when it appears to you. So it's passing an aura of divinity to us.
Wow.
Hang on, where's the big pictures? You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Living their life based on instinct alone. So they do
Yes.
things without thinking, and most often they thrive and survive better than aquatic animals with eyes, brains, and hearts, because jellyfish don't have eyes, brains, and hearts. So it's saying that, there's no reason to be a victim in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Major mindset required from you and the universe. It's always about your abilities and things that you see as your disability. A symbol of strong will and intention. It will stop at nothing to ensure everything it sets its heart to do is accomplished.
And you had millions of them, Juliet.
I know.
Millions. Yes.
A
Like
jellyfish giving birth is it's such a beautiful,
Potent.
and potent sign of creation.
Yeah. So amazing. So anytime you come across like an animal that you're like, whoa, I haven't seen one of those before, or I haven't seen one of those in ages, or I wonder what that is, I'll always Google like whatever the animal is in either medicine or metaphysical meaning or something like that, and have a little look through a few of them and go, because you know what it's like, your eye will be drawn to certain bits, other bits won't quite resonate, but it'll be like, oh my God, that, oh my God, that, oh my God, that. So it's a great way to kind of understand some of those symbols of nature. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful start of your journey.
Right at the beginning of your travels, Juliet.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that definitely, what you were reading definitely aligns with my life at the moment. So that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
I just couldn't believe it. Like I I can't put it into words how amazing it was. Like I'd never seen so many little jelly. They were the most adorable little things. They were like clear, and then like the I want to say the brain. I know it's not the brain, but the little thing inside that
Mm.
it was like clear on the outside, but that thing inside was like
Mm.
bright red. And so, and
Wow.
there were tons,
Yeah.
just yeah, I don't know. They went for ages. They went for ages, and all out of one jellyfish. It was just the wildest thing I'd. It's just nature is incredible.
Yeah.
I really, yeah, it was just amazing. And so, and same, another thing that I wanted to add on to that was, I mentioned that one of the women I'm traveling with, I've never met her. Well, yesterday I also met her, and it was just instant connection. Like really, I'm really getting along with these girls, and I'm really, really, really excited to, um, hang out with them every day and
Yeah.
just have really fun. We're going to just learn so much about each other, and we're going to have so many funny conversations and just everything. It's going to be, I'm just really excited for everything ahead.
Yeah.
So,
What were your intentions going over there? Like,
yeah, a big thing was healing, um, a lot of healing. Yes.
and you got a jellyfish on the first day. How surprising.
Yes. Um, yeah, that was my main intention. And I also, for a more like physical thing is I want to get in the best shape of my life because hiking, a lot of hiking. We also have a bit of a plan to do this workout every day together, and so yeah, a big thing is physical health and just getting in shape for when I get back. And yeah, I just want to be healthy in every way. It's just all about health. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Having fun.
And having fun, yes, and having fun, lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And see how setting those intentions before and then booking a trip with
Yep.
people that you don't know is actually you taking that action to have this stuff manifest in your life.
yeah, yeah,
And so this is where we start looking at those nuances because that's where we find these gifts and this magic. And sometimes we don't see it until after. Like it can be days, weeks, months, sometimes years after that we're like, holy crap, that worked out because of this.
Yes.
yeah,
And because we can't see the whole picture, we sometimes go, well, this is just shit and this isn't working out. And yet, 3-5 years later, you're looking back going, oh, that's what it was leading me to. I see it now.
Yes. Because whatever is happening in the moment, the fact that you can't see it is because you're setting it up for the future. It's something that is coming to you in your life right now that might not manifest for 5 years or 10 years sometimes.
Mm.
And I think that's like when you know that, and I'm not talking about, oh, you've watched a video and somebody said it and you go, oh, yeah, that's what that means. I mean, embodiment. I mean, you've experienced it and you start to really understand that there are things happening in your life today that are going to manifest, whether it's something you want or something you don't want, because we can manifest things that we don't want. I've done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
And decisions that I made 10, 12 years ago have manifested in my life now. And I go, oh, I didn't see what I was doing. I didn't realize that the decisions I was making back then was going to lead me to this place. And so when you start to embody that knowledge and you understand it, you then start to realize, okay, why did I do that? And how can I continue on my journey in a way that is manifesting things that I actually want? And part of that is knowing who you are. part of that is knowing how you manifest things in your life and knowing how the decisions and where those decisions come from. Are they coming from a place of fear? You are afraid that you're going to be homeless, so you're making decisions today that are going to lead to homelessness when you're 10, 20 years down the track. Something like that, like these are big things sometimes, not always little things. And I know because I've done it. I've done it. I've been a victim of myself. So when you embody that knowledge because you've experienced it and it's something that you know to be true, that's when you can start twisting things around for yourself in a positive direction. And it's same if you're just doing it in a positive way and it's coming out in a positive way, you just keep doing that. But you're not going to know if you don't jump off the cliff. You're not going to know if you're not willing to make the decision to try, give it a go. Are you there?
Yes, yes.
I think Amanda's frozen. Can you hear us now?
I think I've been kicked off.
Oh,
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
You froze for a minute there.
I know, I was going, oh my God, and then it came back and then it disappeared again.
Yeah.
Oh, the joys of technology.
Yeah, don't you love it? Yeah, so I think that that's part of embodiment is the intention and the awareness and moving through the fear and actually doing it and continually doing it and practicing it and getting better at it. Yeah, hindsight is a good one for that.
Oh, isn't it though?
Yeah.
I think there's also this really strange paradox with manifestation where, we want to be acting as though it's happened,
Yeah.
but we also need to release importance over it happening.
Yes.
So again, we've got to sit with this really strange tension between, really wanting something, because as we know in the universe, if we really, really, really want something, it's moving further and further away. Whereas if we act as though it's happened and we've reduced importance on it, it's more likely to come to us quickly. And so again, this is where sometimes it can be this really interesting dance because often we're told with the law of attraction, well, it's your negative thoughts keeping it away, or it's because you're in a negative vibration, or it's because, and we're trying to, again, go into that toxic positive, I can't think negative thoughts, can't think negative thoughts, can't think negative thoughts. But guess what's happening? Negative thoughts, negative thoughts, negative thoughts. And then we beat ourselves up for not bringing it in quicker. So there's this beautiful, dance that we need to do between being really focused on where we want to go and what it's going to bring into our life and why we want it there and all the feelings it's going to give us for wanting that, and also reducing importance on it. So going, okay, well, it'll happen or it won't, but really focus it. And so there's this, it feels really paradoxical.
Yeah.
But if we can hold it and go, okay, the more I strive, the further away it's going to get. But I still need to take aligned action towards it. And also I need to reduce the importance on it.
Yeah.
So
what comes to mind when you say that, Amanda, is play. It's like what we did as children. We did make believe. We didn't believe it. We were feeling it while we were doing it. We knew we weren't a doctor. We knew we weren't, an astronaut, but we were playing. We wanted to feel it. We wanted to know what it felt like. We wanted to imagine. We wanted our imaginations were taking us to those places. And so it's like you're playing in that realm, and I think when we have that kind of intention of play when we're manifesting, we can let go of the outcome because we're just playing, but we're trying it on for size. It's like we're putting the jacket on to see what it looks like. And then we take the jacket off. We can say, yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a great experience. And then when you feel like it, you can put the jacket back on again. It's that's what came to mind when you were talking. It was like this feeling of play. And that's what I used to do as a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've reached time. It's 11:30 for you guys. So what a journey, what a
Yeah.
talk, what a conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks, Amanda. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Thank you both as well. It's always so rich, I think, being able to, you know, bounce ideas off other people who are on the journey.
Yeah.
mm,
So, yeah.
yeah. Wow. Well, I feel complete. Do you
Mm.
guys feel complete?
Yes, thank you so, so much, both of you. I love the work you bring into the world. So, thank
Yeah.
you both.
Thank you. Thank
And
you so
Juliet, I
much.
just want to say it's so good to see you there in your little egg chair on your
Yes.
balcony.
I'm enjoying it because after this we're leaving and that's when the camping and the hiking and
Awesome.
everything begins. So I have free Wi-Fi
Oh,
right
fantastic.
now and I've got the egg chair and the beach and the pool. So I'm lapping it all up before I
Yeah.
leave.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
sending love to
enjoy.
everyone watching and we'll see you very soon.
Yes. Bye. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks,
See ya.
Amanda. Thank you.